Rohingya refugees who fled violence in Myanmar may soon be heading back. More than 600,000 members of the ethnic minority group crossed into Bangladesh this fall with stories of violence by Myanmar's military. They've lived in makeshift camps for 3 months, and now a deal struck between Bangladesh and Myanmar could see them return within 2 months. Details of the agreement are scarce, but the announcement is disturbing for my next guest. Rais Ahmed is a Rohingya Canadian living here in Ottawa. Good morning. Welcome back to the show.
Good morning, Hallie. Thank you for welcoming me back here.
On the surface, this sounds like a good news story. The people who are living in these refugee camps can go back. Why is it disturbing for you?
Because it's history repeating itself. It has happened before, and it was not pleasant. When I was at the refugee camps back in 2015, I met with people who talked about the horrors of seeing people beaten and kicked at gunpoint in order to go. There were hundreds of thousands who were forced to leave. And you know where they ended up? They ended up in what's called IDP camps. And these are modern-day concentration camps in Myanmar.
And this is after events in the 1980s?
Yes, in the 80s and the 90s, there were massive repatriations that took place.
Now, we don't know much about this plan, circa 2017, but based on what happened back in the 80s, what are the concerns specifically? I mean, what reassurances would you want to hear before people do go back?
Well, of course, it has to be voluntary. There has to be international presence. There has to be peacekeeping presence, which is evidently not there. I mean, our special envoy, why was Mr. Barber refused access to Rakhine? Because it is still a place where St. Mary's University in London has issued a report saying countdown to genocide, where Yale Law School has said there is clinical evidence of genocide. Even now, while we speak, there are people trying to enter. I speak to my people on the grounds. There are people trying to enter Myanmar, Bangladesh, I'm sorry. They're leaving Myanmar. So there are people still trying to flee that place, and now we're forcing them back over there.
Do some want to go back? And I ask this because, I've spoken with Syrian refugees who tell me that they want to go back, if they can, safely. How do you know that Rohingya refugees living in these refugee camps in Bangladesh, and we've done stories about how miserable the conditions are in Bangladesh, how do you know they don't want to go back?
Those villages have been burned to the ground, to the ashes. I'm not going to speak for 615,000 people, each one of them. No, there may be people who have some hope, but those, I can tell you overwhelmingly, there are people who say that I would rather be killed and die, put my grave over here rather than forced back the way to a place where everything has been burned down, to a place where they're still massacring people. I know that. That's an overwhelmingly loud voice over there.
It's interesting because the difference between what happened 3 months ago and what's happening now is that the eyes of the world are on Myanmar. World leaders putting pressure on Aung San Suu Kyi. At the APEC summit, for example, Pope Francis is supposed to go there next week. Do you not think that because we are now aware and attuned to this, that there's going to be some protection of the Rohingya because of the world attention?
I have, for the last 3 months, that is, since it started, myself, people across the country, my colleagues, we have been on this, calling for actions from peacekeeping troops on the ground to sanctions, to having airlifting aid, but not much has materialized except for just some aid money. You see, there is world leaders' attention, but what has come out of it? This is the big question. Pope Francis is going to go, yes, but we have cardinals in Myanmar saying that please do not even use the word Rohingya. Pope is my hero. He's one of the most greatest people out there. You see, he has said, pray for the brothers and sisters in Rohingya, and they have the right to practice their own religion. So somebody of that caliber going there, wonderful, but will it bring out anything? Well, it's yet to be seen.
You're going to the camps yourself. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, I am. I'll be going in the next 2 weeks, and my plan is to document what has happened to some specific villages that were burned to the ground, the atrocities that took place. I would be involved in some humanitarian work, which I have always been for the last 3 years, ever since I visited the camps myself. But the core of my work will be to gather witness testimonies and share it with my colleagues and friends and family here, and perhaps even CBC and wherever it goes.
Absolutely. We'd like to hear what you hear from the people. But circling back to this supposed deal that's been struck between Bangladesh and Myanmar, is part of the problem, and we've discussed this, that Bangladesh doesn't want 600,000 Rohingya in its country?
I would not speak for the Bangladeshi government. And Bangladesh itself has been so generous. I have all my hands down and bows to them for doing whatever they have for the last 3 months. These people would have just died and drowned in the river if they had not opened their borders. And of course, all these people coming into Bangladesh, it is a big concern for them. But why can we not allow some people who have just witnessed massacre in front of their own eyes, seen their babies burned alive and shot at their backs while they're trying to cross the river? Why can't we have them at least have some breathe, some reprise? Imagine traumatized people who have just come in and now they're being pushed back into a place where genocide is still continuing.
Right.
Imagine that.
What do you think should happen to the people in the camps instead?
I would say what should happen in Myanmar before these guys are returned back. We need to have international presence in Myanmar. We need to have assurance that there will be peacekeeping presence with a mandate to protect, and that they are not going to these IDP camps that are known to be concentration camps and where human trafficking has happened. There's a record of human trafficking. Earlier this year, Thai authorities convicted their top police officials and generals for being involved in human trafficking, where these people from Myanmar's camps are sold as sex slaves and slave labor into Thai fishing fleets. This is a fact of matter, and we're seeing another. And whenever another massacre begins, it begins from these IDP camps. You see, the next wave of massacre will have these people butchered like anything. So we have to stop this another massacre that's just about to come, and that's what we have to work on, to have a peacekeeping presence, to have an international presence in Myanmar before these people are sent.
Rais, thank you so much for coming again.
Thank you so much, Holly.
Rais Ahmed is a Rohingya Canadian living here in Ottawa.